guys, in today's review we'll be on this Hornby Railways model. And this Hornby Railways model is a pre-grouping tank engine. And this pre-grouping tank engine is the Great Northern J13. Later it was classified by the LNER to a J52. So with RAPIDO announcing they are going to do a brand new retooled version of this model with lots of differences, I thought I'd have a look at one of my favourite older models that I have in my collection for personal reasons. Like I said, this is the Great Northern livery one, and it came out for only 1 year, or this numbered one only came out for 1 year, which is 1982. The product code you need is R396. It's in the Great Northern green. The running number is 1274. It is Era 2. DCC ready? No, because it's old. It can do first radius, and the motor type is 7. Like I said, with Rapido announcing they are going to do a brand new retooled one with all the bells and whistles, I just thought I'd see if this makes a good, cheaper budget model for people out there. I do believe Hornby currently have it in their railroad range. With it being an older model, it may be a little bit noisier from the motor. I have oiled it and serviced it, so I do apologise about that. So let's get into the review and see what it's all about, shall we? As we start off at the front of the locomotive, we do have a big D coupling. We also have plastic non-sprung buffers, but they have been painted in black, so it does look nice. The housing and the buffer beam itself are in red. I believe there's a few rivets on there. There's also a moulded hook as well. We also have a vacuum pipe which came in a detail bag that I already added to this locomotive. Moving up, looks like we have some clips for the body and loco, to motor and stuff like that. Also represents the cylinders as well. We have a door and hinges. Nothing's painted on them, nothing opens, but they are there. Oh, it's all moulded, so is the dart in the centre as well. The handrail itself and the brackets for the handrail that goes round the front of this locomotive are separately applied, and it's really thin metal as well. And we also have the chimney as well, which looks to be separately applied too. As we move on to the side of the locomotive, both sides to me were exactly the same apart from this side here. Underneath the tanks there you can also see a reverser. That's the only thing that is different. The reverser is moulded. You also have something that's red which looks to be separately applied. I have no idea what that one is. We also have the same one around the other side as well. There's no lining as such on the splashers. There is a moulded build plate there, but nothing on it, it's just moulded. We do have the livery of this locomotive, which has, I think, Indian red frames, which don't look too bad, and we also have the Great Northern green as well, with some lining of white and black and white again. The wheel configuration for this lovely loco is a 060 tank. It's a saddle tank, I believe, as well. We have some lining around the cab. We also have the number of the locomotive, which is 1247, which I believe is a National Railway Museum one. I've got that correct. We have some handrails which look like they're separately applied as well. We also have the steps going up to the cab as well, and then we have a handrail going across the tanks too. As we move on to the part everyone looks forward to in the review, which I believe is the cab area itself. This is a pretty old locomotive. It could do with a retool in my opinion. The cab is basic for the time, but it's probably high detail for the time, if I'm honest with you. Everything there is moulded, but nothing is painted at all. I believe we have glazing front and back as well. It's not in a black or anything. The moulding is in a grey. There's no wood flooring or anything either. As we move on to the back of the bunker, the back of the bunker is pretty much like the front, very basic. We do have a big deep coupling. We also have plastic unsprung buffers, but they are painted in black, and the housing are in red along with the buffer beam as well. We also have a moulded hook too. We have something that looks like a vacuum pipe round here as well. Moving up, there's no lamp irons or anything like that around here, as far as I am aware. We do have a clip right in the centre there of the bunker. That is to take off the shell to get to the motor. No screws or anything like that, quite an easy way. We do have the lining of the Great Northern, which is apple green I believe, which we also have the white, black and white lining as well. Then we get to the coal rail itself. It looks like there might be a lamp iron there, but that's the only one I can see. The coal rail itself isn't too bad. As we move up just a little bit more, we also have the apple green of the Great Northern. We also have some bars for the windows to stop the coal going through there. That is nicely done for the time. And we also have glazing as well. It's quite nice there, actually. As we do an aerial view on top of this locomotive, starting the usual places, the coal bunker itself. The coal bunker itself isn't too bad. The coal in there isn't too bad. It's quite nice, actually, saying it's a pretty old locomotive. It's not too bad, not too chunky or too small. It's actually okay. Moving along to the roof, it is in black. You can see a little bit of that lining from the loco. We do have a vent. It doesn't move or anything. It's all moulded, like I said. And we have something else that I'm not too sure what it is, but they are there. It's a nice touch, actually. Moving along a bit more, we do have safety valves and whistles, which I believe are metal. It's a fantastic touch there. We also have some handrails going along the top as well. They are separately applied and they are really thin as well. We also have a dome. We have a water cap as well. And then we come to the chimney area. You can see the lining of the locomotive as well. And then we have the buffers too. And finally, as we do an underneath look at this locomotive does have some irons to knock stuff off the track, front and back. I forgot to point them out, so I am really sorry. There's no brake rigging or anything like that. We do have 3 or 4 screws to take stuff off, but I also think one may be for the motor as well. Like I said, this one just clips off the body at the bunker, that's all it is. We do have a massive grey cog in the centre there to oil. That's nice, easily done. We only have pickups on at least 2 wheels, as far as I'm aware. That's one front and one back on the same side as well. The middle wheel is less flangulous than the others. It's how Hornby was back then. And we also see 2 big decouplings either side of the locomotive. So next up will be the usual points test. I'm not going to do second radius because this model can do first radius. The middle wheel, the flange, is a little bit smaller than the rest of the flanges on it. So we can do first radius, so no point me trying out second radius. So here it goes, let's see if it will do the points, shall we? What's that? 40? I'm going to do it backwards. Again, no issues, it is a little loud, but no issues per se. So it managed that pretty well. It's a little bit fast, but these older models weren't geared to be realistic as far as I'm aware. But again, it was pretty good, backwards and forwards. So next up will be some slow speed, and I'll find it a train to pull it, and I'll see you at the end. A little loud at 30. Yeah, it can crawl at 30, just a little loud. I have serviced the model and it is pretty old. So that's the end of the running session and the review. Before I give my opinion and prices on it. I'll tell you what it was pulling, which were some comedy rolling stock from Dapple and Hornby, which are the only fools in Dad's Army stuff. We had some Titfield Thunderbolts from Rapido. We had a few Dapple and the Backman one. We had a Bass wagon. The only Great Northern wagon I have is the gunpowder van that Rapido did in a made-up livery. And then we have a LNER Toad E brake van at the end. This is a shunting model, so I went with the idea of trucks and vans, but you could run the Hornby or Hattons 4 and 6 wheel coaches in a teak livery if you really wanted to. And you possibly could get away with the Gretley coaches or Thompson coaches if you wanted to do a mainline style train, just for a one-off or use rule 1. So like I said at the start, Rapido are doing a retool, brand new tooled locomotive, all the whistles and bells and different parts. This is a slightly generic all-in-one like the Dapple / Hornby Terrys were back in the day. And the price I paid for this, 20 odd years ago, was about the £45 mark, and I thought that was good. It is era 2, it has the red running board, it has some lining. Most of the parts are moulded on, but it was great for the time. If you're currently to get this from a model shop, you're talking again around the £60 mark, depending on its condition. I have seen it as cheap as £25, but that was a bit battered. And I have seen a few of the Hornby ones go as high as £150. I'm guessing they were made in China. Looking at Hornby's website currently, there's none available, not even in the railroad range, there's none available. It doesn't mean Hornby won't re-release it in the railroad range or slightly tweak it so it's DC ready. Like I said, Rapido are doing a brand new tooled one, and their prices are from Rapido £165 for a DC ready one, and from a shop you're talking £145 again for a DC ready one, depending on which version you go for in livery. Again, that's a great price for a 060 tank engine in this day and age. My question is, for this model, does this model make a great base model for beginners? And I want to say it does. There's not many parts to fall off if you handle them roughly. They're easy to maintain. If you wanted to DCC chip it, you could hardwire it. Possibly could get away with sound as well. It also make a great base model to do projects. If you wanted to make it into a different class and add a tender, you could. So for me, there's nothing wrong in these older tooled models. They're a great way to get into the hobby, and they are a cheap way of getting a model or a class of the locomotive that you wanted in your collection, but you just can't afford the higher prices that models fetch today. Like I said at the start, mine was a little bit noisy of a runner. It's an old model from the 80s, and it's all down to do with the shell and the motor. So I do apologise about anybody who has headphones or anything like that. If the motor comes out loud, the noise grinding comes out loud. I have serviced it, I have cleaned the wheels, and for me it ran pretty well. Good slow speed, did the points back and forward, no issues whatsoever. And it could do a slow speed. I think on the Gauge Master Combi I had it just below the 30 mark when it had a load behind it. It seems to run better with a load behind it for some reason. But overall it is a great base model, and it's cheap for people to get into the hobby. That is my thoughts on this one. I will bring you a review of the new Rapido one when it comes out. But this was my review on the Hornby Railways Great Northern J13. I hope you find this review interesting. If you have any comments or questions down below, please let me know, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. So please take care and goodbye.